Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Reinvent 2020. Great to see everybody on, and we'll have other people I'm sure that will be popping on as we go along with this. I am Jason Wells. I am excited to welcome everybody here. We're going to go through a couple just kind of like, we'll call them house cleaning items to get ourselves up and running. Make sure everybody can hear me before we get diving in and go too far. Everybody hearing me okay? Am I coming across? I get a couple thumbs ups. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, let's get started. Let me share the right screen here so you guys, I don't want that on there. There we go. All right. What do we see? You guys seeing the right stuff? I always have to make sure that the right thing is on the board. We see a
We
couple
got it,
nods from
Jason.
me. How are we looking, Ashley? Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we're going to get started today. Now, this is a class that I put together after a lot of my own introspection and talking with a lot of top producing agents, a lot of new agents as well, as to what has happened with this new COVID world that we are in. So my take on it really was to look at it and say, how do we, this is something that affects us all, right? None of us can change the fact that we are in the market we're in, that the industry has turned to where it's at. How long it's going to stay, what it's going to continue to look like, I don't know. And I'm not here to speculate on all of that. What I do know is that we are all facing the same reality, and how we react to it will determine our outcomes. And there will be disproportionate outcomes based on those reactions. So where is your disproportional reaction going to come from? Is it going to be not enough, or is it going to be in abundance? And that's why I thought this is your chance to make 2020 the year that everything changed. I mean, everything was already changing anyway, but let's put a positive spin on that. Make 2020 the year that everything changed in your business for the better. So we are today going to be talking about technology. We're going to be talking about clients and what they're looking for, how you find them, how they're reacting. We're going to be talking about what your business looks like. What do you need to be doing differently for your business? How has your structure changed? What's coming next? What do you got to do to set your goals and be on target? Now, I appreciate most everybody, well, I appreciate all of you, but I appreciate most of you who signed up. You filled out the 2 questions that were not required, but I was curious to find out what your thoughts were going into all of this, right? Were you on track for your goals, and what was your biggest concern about what things were going to happen? And overwhelmingly, the response was that either I'm not on track for where I was at the beginning of the year, or I'm not sure if I'm on track. Some of you were on track, which is fantastic. That means you've dug in and you're doing some of the tried and true, we'll call it, returning to the basics kind of stuff for your business that is allowing you to continue to succeed. What we want to look at now is, if you're succeeding now, are you set up though to thrive? And those who are behind, we're going to talk about what you have to do to set yourself up to begin thriving through the end of the year and into 2021. Okay. The other question was, what's your biggest concern? And the number one response was, what do I do with technology? What's coming with technology? How do I handle the new technology changes? Is there more coming? Do I got to be aware of it? It was around that sort of sentiment as to what it is, or just I'm unsure of what the future will be. I don't know what it will look like. And so it's unsettling to me. So I thank everybody for sharing that, sharing your responses and how that felt with you, because I think it's important that we have a groundwork here that we're all feeling the same thing. We're all largely in the same boat here. And so what do we do to move forward with that? Okay. And so we're going to talk about that today as we go through this. All right. One plug I want to give, this is the only plug I promise, is that for Keller Williams, those of you who are not Keller Williams agents, we do 2 main big conventions every year, okay? And one of them is Mega Camp. And Mega Camp is normally held in Austin, Texas. And this year, of course, that's not possible. So September 15th through the 17th, it is a digital experience. You can get a digital ticket. It's $119 right now for the 3-day digital ticket. And if you talk to if you know a Keller Williams agent, a lot of Keller Williams offices like mine are doing things where I'll pay for your ticket. If you want to come to Mega Camp, and you're not a KW agent, contact one of those KW agents that you know. Contact me or contact Ashley directly, because I'm going to pay for your ticket and have you come as a guest of mine. All right. So Mega Camp is where Gary Keller brings out the top agents within Keller Williams to talk about the strategies, the systems, the process that they are doing to get the results that they have right now. And it's totally open book. I mean, they're like, here's my system, here's beginning to end, here's what my marketing pieces look like, here's what my messaging looks like, here's who I target with it. Go do the same thing. It's really quite amazing. So if you are a Keller Williams agent and haven't signed up, what are you waiting for? Go sign up. Okay? Or go talk to your team leader and say, hey, if I have somebody that comes, will you pay for my ticket? Because I'll do that too. Anything to add to that, Ashley?
No, I would say also for those of you who are KW, most of our offices are doing events around around Mega Camp. Well, this whole class is talking about how 2020 is different. We're also wanting to make sure that we continue to encourage you to network and enjoy camaraderie with your current office. One of the things that's really cool about today is that we have actually 4 Keller Williams market centers on. And so we have KW Everett up here in Washington, KW Marysville, KW Biltmore, and KW East Valley. And so when you have 2 market centers in Washington, 2 market centers in Arizona, and there's a lot of back and forth between, our goal is to help you engage as well, and make sure that you connect with some of the people. So please be vocal on chat. Please be vocal throughout the class today. And this isn't necessarily just about Mega Camp, because I want to really make sure that you have some connections with Northwest and the Southwest. And as most of you know, I'm moving to the Southwest, and I was licensed down there for 13 years. So I'm excited to help build those bridges between these 2 areas so that we can stay connected and then serve our clients.
Awesome. And so with that, oh no, I lost my controls. That's one of the things here when you're doing this. It's easy to lose some of your controls over Zoom. So here we go, back on it. So Ashley and I are going to be your guides, your presenters, your hosts through today. And so just a little bit about us for those who don't know one or the other or either of us. Ashley is a tour de force in the real estate industry. Truly, she is the current CEO of Keller Williams office up there in Everett. She's actually, in many of the things she's doing, ranks in the top 200 of all Keller Williams team leaders. She's been a team leader before in Arizona before she moved up there. Her and I have been partnered for a number of years with a real estate team that we ran, and last year we did 310 sales for 1.9 million in GCI. That's landed us as Gary Keller's top 200. He has a specific top 200 for the top 200 agents in Keller Williams that they're invited to a mastermind. And he's been doing that monthly through COVID. And so we've had the opportunity to participate in those, hear what everyone else is doing, make connections and stuff. It's just really cool stuff we've learned. Ashley somehow got licensed, when she was like, how old were you, Ashley? 12, 10? Since you've been licensed 24 years? What are we supposed to say?
Right.
What did you tell me I'm supposed to say? I don't remember. Something like that.
You can be honest. It was 18.
All right. And she was also Rookie of the Year 2007. And before she went full into being the team leader role, she had worked with us and helped expand our business that we were partners and co-owners in. She expanded into Tucson, the North Puget Sound, Seattle, and Folsom, California. So a little bit about Ashley. And myself. Well, I'm the current.
I can introduce you. I got this.
Okay.
So a lot of you up in Everett know Jason because he's flown up, as he shared, we've been business partners 6+ years, and he's flown up to the Everett office multiple times to teach. He's taught command classes. He's also an attorney. Don't hold that against him, please. He's really a good guy, I promise. We've been part of the Real Trends Top 250 for multiple years with Luxury International. He was also Rookie of the Year in 2011 and was also a 40 under 40 recognition winner in the East Valley in 2014, 2015, and 2016 until he got out of the running for that and joined us in the 40 Club.
We won't talk about how that was that I was no longer eligible for that.
Okay, well.
We'll just say I stopped applying.
Right.
All right, so everybody, that's who we are. We want you today to play full out, okay? We really want you playing full out. So to that end, I thought I'd give just a quick, introduction or showing of ways you can interact with us through Zoom, because I don't see that everyone always understands the ways to do this. So your Zoom page probably looks something similar to that. Right? You might have a virtual background and you might not be as good looking, or you might be a heck of a lot better good looking. I don't really know, but it looks something like that. Okay. Down on the bottom, you have these controls that are available to you. Your participants, chat, you'll see the share screen, record, and reactions. As we go through this, I want to hear your feedback. And as we're asking for feedback, use the reactions. So that reaction button right here, if you click on that reaction and you have the most current version of Zoom, you can use these different emojis and they will appear in the top corner of your picture, right? Whether you have your screen video on or not, it's going to show up. If you don't have the most recent one, it'll be the hand clap and the thumb. So that's okay. You still can utilize those. Now, if you click on the participants, you get it looking like this, which will list out all the participants here next to you. If you click on the chat, it then will open up the chat next to you. So you have both of those available to you. And oftentimes when I'm participating on Zoom, this is how I do it. I have my picture, my presentation open. I can see who the participants are, and I have the chat happening here. Now with the participants right here, you're able to click on more and you have additional ways you can interact: thumbs up, thumbs down, clap. Okay, Jason or Ashley, you're droning on, please go faster, right? That kind of thing. Yes, no, that's all available here. And your chat, you can privately chat to people by switching it from everyone to its other things. Cool? All right, with that, let's get into this. Let's talk about how it is we make 2020 the year that everything changes. What is it we have to do to ensure that 2020 becomes that year that everything changes for us? And when I was doing this, when I started thinking about it, it really left me realizing that, okay, I have to spend some time and really get into re-emphasize my business. I've got to reprioritize some things, and I need to be revitalized, because I kind of found myself getting into a rut. I don't know if any of you have felt that way, but I felt myself that I get into a bit of a rut. And so how do I get myself out of that? Well, first thing I believe you have to do is, before you can dive into really understanding and fixing things, you have to reflect on what has taken you there. Reflect on what's going to be important and what's happened. How did COVID and the current social climate of things, how has it affected your business? How does it affect your personal life? What were your feelings at the start of everything when everything shut down? How do you feel about those cultural and racial tensions? What are your feelings now? And all of that for me leads to a big question, right? If I had foresight, if I could see into the future and known what was coming, then what would I do differently in my business, right? So the reflecting question I want everyone to think about right now for a second is, what would you do differently in your business if you knew in January that COVID was coming in March? And I know that COVID has looked different in different states, different markets for people. So just based on your circumstances, if you knew COVID was showing up, what would you do differently? And I love it. Joe would have bought toilet paper. Thank you, Joe. That's fantastic, right? I think a lot of us would have probably done that. So what kind of stuff would you? Zoom stock, perfect, right? So let me ask you this. As you think about those things that you would have done, have you done them? I mean, not buying stock in toilet paper, but maybe it's good to just have a stash on hand and to still buy some Zoom stock. It still seems to be still growing. But as I thought about this, and I began asking a lot of agents what it is.
I love it, Britt. Thanks.
So what it is that they would have done. Here's some of the answers I received, and let's see if these were some of the things that you also found out. So these came from many people that I talked to, if they had had 2020 vision, pun intended there, what would they have done differently? One of the things I've heard is they'd be more pipeline focused in their business, more pipeline focused, setting expectations for those who are in the pipeline and adding new people or opportunities to that pipeline. Another one is that they would have worked on options. They would have had more options available to their clients, to their prospects, in their marketing. What do those options look like? Well, they could look like having an iBuyer option or a cash offer option, a flat fee option, doing traditional sales, seller sales, a weekend listing, a la carte kind of services. Just having something that allowed more flexibility to the client to choose what they wanted to do based on their needs, because so many of the needs and what people were being held back by changed with COVID. So having options was something I heard. Lead generation, that was another one that a few agents talked to me about. And what they would have done is they would have gotten on things like their care calls to their sphere of influence a lot sooner. Now, care calls, if you to clarify what that is, if you're not aware or haven't heard that term right now, is that's what a lot of the lead generation and what is being recommended as best practices for working with your database is to call your sphere of influence and just check on them. Not call them to see if they want to buy or sell or who do they know or anything like that, but just to check on them. How you doing? How's the family reacting? How are the kids? How are you? Do you need anything? That sort of thing. They would have a cleaner database. Focus on farming. And this one I think is a real important one. If you have ever wanted to farm, now's the time to go do it. Get started farming right now, because I am finding that what happens is if you go out and you begin farming an area, normally this farming area is about an 12 to 18 month turnaround to begin seeing real results coming from that farm. Right now, you get in and you start digging in with that farm and just doing the tactics that would normally take 12 to 18 months, coming a lot sooner. Those results are beginning to turn in like 90 days that people are seeing results from farming. So when you're farming, some of the things, great question, Kenny, some of the things you can do when you're farming are going to be, I wouldn't recommend door knocking. That's an old tried and true one, but I wouldn't recommend that right now. Farming would be things like, you can do this geographically. So you can get on social media and you can put a radius around your farm. Yes, it'll go out 15 miles because we are a special class of advertisers within Facebook. But send them a market update, right? Record a market update. One of the things I recommend is if you have there's a big neighborhood out here called Eastmark. It's 5 square miles, okay? Go out and stand by one of the signs by like an Eastmark or whatever it is that's something recognizable, so that people, when they're scrolling through, they see it and they're like, oh, I need to stop and check out, see what this says from Kenny. You send out to use every door direct from the post office to send out postcards, and do that on a monthly basis, just with an update of what's happening in the market, and then providing them something like a tool to get a free valuation on their home. There's lots of resources available in KW Connect. I would definitely recommend talk to your team leader, reach back out to me, reach out to Ashley. Our contact information, ways to get a hold of us, were in your confirmation emails. So I would definitely check into that because there is lots and lots and lots of stuff that you can get out of there. Great suggestion there, Charles. And I thought I saw someone with their hand raised, but they're not anymore.
So Kenny, what office are you in?
I'm Keller Williams Biltmore Realty Partners in Phoenix.
Awesome. So I'm about to be your leader, which is great. And so one of the things, even before then, go talk to Denise or Scott or meet with me even over Zoom. There's some special criteria that you can use to determine if there's enough movement in that neighborhood to show that that's a good farm. And oftentimes as well, the title companies, like what Charles suggested, would be a great resource. So your local title company rep usually can help you pull communities. And what you're typically looking for in a farm is a community that most people want to live in, and that there's enough buying and selling happening that you have an opportunity to go in and take some market share in that area. Just plan that if you're going to do anything, that you keep it consistent for at least 6 months. So don't do 500 homes the first month and go, oh crud, I can only do 250 the next. You're better off in a consistent 250 if that's what your budget is. You figure out your budget and you plan how long it'll take. And yet we're seeing, like Jason said, a lot of results for our brokers and agents who are using that.
Okay, so how do you get their addresses and stuff? Is it automatically inputted?
That is something, I don't want to get too into the weeds, Kenny, here. So let's go ahead and meet together and go over some of that, either via Zoom or when I'm in the office after the first.
That sounds beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Jacob, you got your hand raised.
Yeah, I was going to kind of add to that question. So those are all really great marketing tactics. I actually owned a marketing consulting firm and branding firm, so I've used lots of those with clients. But say, for instance, there's a brand new agent. They don't have a ton of marketing dollars to spend, you know, thousands of dollars doing direct door mail or hundreds of dollars doing Facebook ads. What are some really low cost options that maybe just take a little more time for maybe newer agents who don't have those marketing dollars?
Great question. Ashley, do you want to take it?
Sure. So I would say if you have, and I have some steps on this, I would say the virtual open houses and calls to action, I have a complete program and system around that. So I would love to go a little deeper with that, even in the office. And yet in the meantime, I would say virtual happy hours for your sphere, virtual seller classes, virtual buyer classes. These aren't costing a lot of money. You're putting it on Facebook, maybe, you know, boosting it a little bit with a few dollars, and yet ultimately making sure that you're embedding in every single post, as well as virtually when you're doing video, some type of call to action. You know, would you like to see the top 10 homes nearby? I can get that to you later. Just message me and I'll send that over to you. You know, different questions along the way that isn't giving away the farm, that you're actually causing that person to go, wow, that guy knows what he's doing, or that gal knows what she's doing. I want to talk to them about real estate. And so then that's how we can connect more efficiently via social media. And Charles is saying volunteering with organizations is a great idea as well. In the midst of COVID, just be a little bit careful with that. We were definitely, you know, cautious during Red Day and that type of thing up here. We just gave food to the local drive-throughs, COVID testing centers. So that was a way to help as an office. So I love that idea as well. Thank you, Charles. So
you know what it sounds like we need to do? Sounds like there's enough interest in farming. We'll get a farming class specifically on the schedule that Ashley and I will share and promote. We know some really high level farmers, and you know, at East Valley, we have a ninja. She's a total ninja farmer, Janine Igliani. She's just phenomenal. We'll see about getting her and maybe a couple others to come on, and we'll get really tactical about farming, because I strongly believe this is a tactic to be utilizing in your business right now that will produce results far quicker than they normally will, which will allow you to garner market share as we come out of this and be the agent of choice. It's really one I think that you should be going after. Okay. Video marketing, community resources, and seller tools, right? These are the things that they also would have focused on. Another thing, implementing tech. Being more up on what tech tools are available, be a content creator, having a smoother mobile experience for their clients, having stronger internet at home. I, for one, am one of those. I went out and I bought a new modem because it was killing me that every time my kids were on Fortnite that my internet was crashing. So I had to stop that, because it was either let them play Fortnite and have a distraction, or no Fortnite and I had internet, but everything was a mess. So stronger internet connection, that was definitely one of them for me. Follow-up campaigns in place and having task management that they're able to consistently follow through with. And relationships. And I think this is what we hear a lot, is the importance of having strong relationships. And that is by having more consistent touches with your sphere of influence. I mean, tell me that it's not true that as this hit, that you at somewhere in your gut were like, okay, they're saying I need to call my sphere of influence, but it's like weird to call my sphere of influence because I haven't called my sphere of influence for a while. So just to kind of call them out of the blue, even though I'm going to check on them, I don't really know. Well, if you had a more consistent relationship with them prior to this, which is what the question was about, what would you have done differently if you knew it was coming? It was be to have more consistent touches so that it would make that not as easy. John Patterson, you are the man. Orbi router is what I have. Yes, I love it. So I don't get paid for that. I don't know maybe if John does, but John Patterson says he got an Orbi router at Costco. I have one of those as well, and it is working super awesome. I agree. Other things for relationships is providing more value and knowing their birthdays. So that's having more data, having better data in your database. So in your database, do you have these things? Do you have their birthdays? Do you have their kids' names? Do you know their hobbies? Are you able to talk to your database about these things? If you don't, remember the question was, if I knew these things were going to happen, if I knew COVID was going to happen in January, what would I do differently? Well, I would get these things. So have you done it? Just go do it. You know, it's not as scary as it feels or seems, because none of us want to be that agent that just shows up out of nowhere and is like, hey, sell something to me. I mean, if you ask people to raise their hand if they've ever felt violated by a real estate agent, I mean, this is kind of what the reaction is. Even the baby's like, yep, I felt it. And that's because we as agents have this bad reputation of when things are going wrong or things aren't going that we're opportunists. Let's say it that way. And so, yeah, I'm sure y'all seen this meme out there that the world's on fire and we're like, hey, who wants to buy or sell a house? Who wants to buy or sell a house? Right? We don't want to be, none of us want to be that agent. And by having the more consistent relationships with our people, we are able to avoid any of that feeling where they're like, oh, Jason's calling again. He's just going to want me to do business or something. No, we're able to call them. We're able to check on them. And something I'm going to suggest right now, guys, is that those care calls are not done. Care calls are not done. And I say that because right now, we've gone through the first wave, first we'll call it the main wave of COVID. And so there was a lot of this, all right, well, I'm going to get on that bandwagon. I'm going to make the calls. And so now I've made that care call. Well, why would I make another care call? It's just kind of weird. But guys, it's different. How many Facebook posts are you seeing about parents struggling with the reality of online school or not going back to school, or they are going back to school and people have a problem with, the care calls are still a big thing right now for your lead generation. You should be doing. If you don't have a plan of how you're going to go about doing those care calls and how to systematically go through it, again, get with myself, get with Ashley. We are available to sit down and help you organize your database in a manner that will allow you to systematically touch your database in a way that you are not overwhelmed, in a way that they don't feel bombarded, in a way that you are truly coming from a caring contribution standpoint, which is what I know the vast majority of us want to provide. So care calls are absolutely still in vogue.
And one thing too, I wanted to add here, and I had wished that she was on so that she could share the story. And yet, for those of you in the Everett office, go look at it on our private Facebook group. Lana Lensfeld had posted about how she had received a call from a lead, or she was following up on leads or something to that effect. I don't remember which part. If she got the incoming call and had that conversation, or she was following
up. I do remember she was following up on
leads, and she was doing the follow-ups as care calls. This person had just lost somebody to COVID. They had not had anybody really to talk to. The conversation was all about really pouring into this gentleman who was struggling. And then later she ended up listing the house, but that was not the conversation. It wasn't like, who wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? That is not what we want to say right now. So even with leads or follow-ups that aren't Sphere, we're encouraging care calls, because when you come from a place of contribution, always, later when they need you, they will reach out to you because you were there for them.
And just consider that when even if you're following up on open house leads, if you have people in your database that had contacted you about a listing, whether they're a Facebook lead or wherever they came from, if you have seller leads, what does that look like if you were to call them and it's not a call following up on just what did you think of the house? You don't go into that. You're asking about them as a person.
And that's a great point too, Charles. Charles Dine from the East Valley office is suggesting Keller Covered is a great care call, and he's calling to save them money and asking them when was the last time that they examined their coverages. So again, rates are super low. If your past sellers, if you call all your past sellers and said, hey, have you talked to a mortgage company? I have this great resource that that you can refinance for pretty much zero cost, and then have a much lower payment to save for your family. And people are going to be so appreciative of that. And whether you're in one of the Everett or Marysville office, you can do BKCO mortgage or Keller mortgage. Use the resources and relationships within your office.
Yeah. And tell stories with that. I would say when you reach out to them about Keller Covered, look at the stats that are on Keller Covered's website about the amount of money that people are saving, how it is that it's improving people's lives, because that folks are in looking for ways to save money. They're hurting a bit, and oftentimes they just need to hear that somebody out there cares. The likelihood that their employer is calling them to check on them is really small, really minimal. So please don't discount that, is what I'm saying, is that there's a lot of people out there who are suffering and when I say suffering, I don't mean like dramatic suffering. Some are, I guess, but I mean that they're struggling is a better word. They're struggling with where they're at, and you could be that voice that just helps comfort them and helps them realize, yeah, I'm not alone in this. And that's how you gain market share and be top of mind. I want to ask, before we jump into market stats here, of those, what are some of your thoughts then? As we went through what I've heard from agents and what I've experienced myself within my team, what ahas, what has come to your mind that you would have done differently in January had you known COVID was coming and was going to cause the effects that it did? I'd like to hear from some of you. So go ahead and unmute or raise your hand, whatever you want to do. Type in the chat.
I would have cleaned up my database faster, but it was a great process in trying to clean up the database, because as we're doing care calls, you can update information.
Awesome. Janet, that's really great. So if I can ask follow up to that, when you got in there and started to clean it up, well, what kind of stuff were you working on cleaning up? What were you finding?
Well, just, getting missing information. Really, it was care calling, see how they're doing. And I mean, in the beginning, I was just like, everybody was reeling. So just getting missing information, catching up, touching base, seeing how the kids are. I mean, I actually I've homeschooled for over 20 years. So when everybody's freaking out, I was like, stay calm, I'm a resource. So that was a nice added bonus. But yeah, it was just cleaning up. And really, I'm trying to systemize all my contacts and the touches. And so my intent was to get all of my resources and all of my people in one space, which is what I have an assistant helping me do in Command, and making sure I tag them. I'm not even sure I'm using all the right language because I'm relatively new to Keller Williams and Command, but just cleaning it up so it's super functioning, and I have tasks and I know exactly what I'm doing, and it becomes less overwhelming.
Totally. Jenna, I love that. You took it and you went through it one piece at a time. And, so with what you're saying, Elizabeth agrees with you that the care calls and updating has allowed her to stay in greater contact. It's almost like this was the gift of COVID, was this ability to get into our database and pick up that missing information. Okay. By getting that missing information we make our touches to our database far more relationship based. They're far more meaningful. What that does is it makes your database more valuable. And while your database right now may not be kicking out the same number of deals that it would have had COVID not happened, it's only a matter of time, because life circumstances still happen. People will still need to make adjustments, and you now have a much more robust, healthy database from which to be working on. And what you're saying, making sure they're tagged right and that everyone's segmented properly, such a high level business tactic that we have had the opportunity to accidentally find our way into by cleaning up our databases. And as we come out of this and we start going, you know what? I talked to the friends who have people who are homeschooling. Let's say that was one of the things as you would talk to them, you made a little note about people who were worried about homeschooling. You could now create a series of here's some tips to homeschool and send it out to those people, right? By using the tags within Command. So you're now segmenting your database to communicate to them in a way that's valuable to them. That's a key thing right now that's really coming to highlight through this COVID is that value is different to different people. So we can't give them all the same message. Yet if we know what their interests are, we know their hobbies, we know the stuff where we can help them, we can communicate specifically to those people. And wow, you have an amazing breadth of resources. If you were to just like start some sort of series of ways to, tips and hacks to homeschool, I'd sign up.
How not to go crazy.
I'd sign up.
Are you staying as a parent if you're homeschooling right now? Charles got a great comment in the chat too. I would have been more diversified in my prospecting plan. I was completely event-based. Events can move virtual. We're seeing more virtual events, so I would encourage you to shift there that way, Charles. And it looks like you raised your hand. Did you have another comment you wanted to share with the group?
I just wanted to echo what Jason said. I've seen a lot of comments recently from newer agents, experienced agents dealing with Command and how to use tags. And I know tags are used in other CRMs as well. And just how important it is to think about your prospecting and marketing plan and start there with your tags. I mean, I've seen a ton of questions lately on how do I tag my database? And, I just wanted to say that, the previous comment was, this is a great time to organize our database and go through and really collect all that information, but think about your prospecting and marketing plan and lead with that, because lead generation is list generation, and good lists lead to great leads.
Well
That's
said.
fabulous. That's fabulous, Charles. I just want to say he's on my ALC. Charles is a rock star.
You're like, I'm claiming that guy. Awesome. I love it. And then Jacob also shared, I would have spent more time focusing on relationships. I think that's something that never gets away. It's just how. It's something we've talked a lot about in our office as well, is that how we're doing business has changed. How we're connecting with people has changed. It's more virtual, more Zoom happy hours, more Zoom coffee dates. And yet the need to connect is so deeply there. So really still continuing to focus on that is awesome. I love that.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for sharing and participating. We'll jump here into a little bit of the market report. Share screen again. I apologize. Here we go. So our market report. We're going to start with Arizona and the Phoenix metro market. So in Arizona, as of August 5th, we had a whopping 13,000 listings on the market. And of those, about half were single family residences. So in our metropolitan of nearly 5 million people, we have 6,000 single family residences available for sale. I mean, that is painful. New listings that came in through July, we had nearly 10,000 listings hit the market. So that shows in Arizona the speed at which everything is disappearing. So things that come in new are immediately out. And what I found is that from July, that 9,000 in July, 40% of them were already gone or under contract. So think about that. That's nearly 5,000 properties is what it comes out to. It's like 4,600 properties were already under contract within 30 days, under contract or sold. If I look back to June, you go back and you look at June's numbers of what came on, 90% of them were gone within the first 60 days. So the velocity of the market in Phoenix is out of control. It is just hot, 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 fast, 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 fast. Our pendings right now are at about 13,000, which oddly enough, you look at how many actives we have and how many pendings we have, right? We're about equivalent. And that's why we only have 1.3 months of supply in the entire market. That includes our luxury market. The entire market, 1.3 months of supply. Our pendings were up 18% year over year. And it was the most pendings, that nearly 13,000 pendings, the most pendings in Phoenix that we have seen since 2014. And I don't know if it goes on beyond that, because the way they categorize things as UCB and pending, there's not stats that go that show us further unless you're just looking at UCBs, or which in Arizona UCB means you're under contract accepting backup offers. But I've been tracking these numbers since 2014. That's why I know since 2014 that's the most in a single month that we have ever seen pending. It's crazy. Our solds in July were 10,554, which was a 54% increase over May's high. May was our high this year up to that point. It's also the most that we've had since 2011's 10,345. And 2011 was Arizona's second highest sales unit total on record. So we've gotten really hot since the slowdown from COVID had happened, and we're largely through it. The market here is moving. Congratulations to the agents as an industry for the way in which we have responded to make things safe for our buyers and sellers, the way we've adapted with technology in order to make it so that transactions can still occur. That's why we're seeing these numbers happen. The concerning thing, though, a little bit is our appreciation. We were at nearly 12% appreciation in July, and for the last year, we're at over 9% appreciation. I have my theories on that. That I've shared in the market updates that I do in our office as to why that is. And that may not be directly a bubble being caused, because when you see appreciation rates like that, that's the concern. You may be heading for a bubble. That's what happened last time. Now we have a different supply-demand factor going on, and we have a whole lot of people from Washington, from California, moving here, right? This year alone, I've received 3 referrals from Washington. It's come on down. We only had our 41st day of 110 degrees yesterday. Today will be 42 days of 110 degrees. It's not a big deal. It's a dry heat. Don't worry about it. Ashley, talk to us about the Pacific Northwest market.
All right, so as of August 5th in the Pacific Northwest, thank you, Charles. I know I love the rain. When I lived in Arizona, I always enjoyed the rain. So active sales as of August 5th, 9,670. We have new listings in July, 10,709. Our actives are down 42% year over year. So we're having the same challenge in the Pacific Northwest as inventory. So we're having a lot of conversations of how do you use your current buyers to shop for listings. And we have sellers who are concerned about selling and then being able to move up. They know they can sell their property and they're not sure if they're going to have another property to move into. So we're seeing that challenge in our office. We're also seeing the challenge of people not wanting to move because they don't want to deal with COVID. So with low inventory, we've had to get creative on how to find listings. That is an upcoming class as well. And so pending, we have 11,916. It's a 15% increase from May. And then sold 8,312. Excuse me, that probably meant to say June. And then sold 8,312, 39% increase from 5,957, and a 12.3% reduction year over year. So we have less solds because there's less inventory. It's not that people are not there to buy. We have more than enough people to buy. There just aren't homes to sell them. And because of the way we are geographically in the Pacific Northwest, we have the mountains. And there's not, you either going up or down, because you're going to hit a mountain on the side. So in Western Washington, we've always been geographically landlocked. We're also seeing a large migration from Seattle. Not getting into politics here, and yet we're seeing a large migration from Seattle into outlying areas, which has been great for our Snohomish County brokers in Marysville and in Everett, because we're seeing a lot of people make that move, even over in our Whidbey Island offices as well. And then prices are rising. Our month over month rose 3.3%, so a slower increase here of appreciation, much more typical of what we would typically see in this area. And then it went from 449,850 to 465,000. So solid market. The biggest challenge we have here is inventory.
Yeah, and that is a common challenge. And so really something that I would encourage you as agents to really be purposeful is finding groups, finding conversations around listings. What do I do to go find listings? How am I getting listings? Where are you getting listings? I get that there's a smaller number of them out there, and yet there's still business out there to be had. And what do you have to do? I mean, I would rather spend my time cultivating and securing a listing than having to write 12 offers that are getting rejected trying to find a house because the competition is so fierce right now. So be purposeful on what are new ways I can try to find listings. And again, that goes back to maybe some farming and being purposeful with your database, right? So let's take a look at what's happened. We're going to go through this part here real quick because I think we are all, when we see these graphs, we're going to say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing that is happening in the market. And that is that we are seeing this V-shaped recovery. So I find that this is an important conversation to be having with my clients, is that we are as an industry, the housing industry, we are going to be leading, and we are leading the economy out of this in a V-type recovery. What we've seen is that everything has come down and then it bounces back. And typically with pandemics that have happened in the past, this is what we've seen through the different markets. So you look over here and you can go to 1968, 58, and 1918. That's what they're measuring here. All of them had this V-shaped recovery. We got hit and we come down, and we're seeing that happen. Especially when we look at showings in North America, we can see what happened. COVID happened, they dropped off, and that's in large part because nobody was going out and showing. And places like in Washington and Colorado, you guys were shut down and not able to even go out and do any showings. Arizona, it became dicey, and it was like, okay, what do I have to do to make it happen? So what we see is as we bottomed out through this, everything is returning, and we have skyrocketed through it. In Arizona, what we found is that the year-over-year requests for viewing appointments is up 19.6%. Now, I apologize, Washington, I wasn't able to pull your number for specifically Washington, and that's in part because these are run through showing time. Showing time in Arizona is it's an integrated piece to the MLS, and everybody uses it to request their showings. So our showings year over year are up nearly 20%. Nationally through showing time, that number was up almost 22%. So you're probably somewhere in that range, and you've probably seen it. And that's a combination of things, of people having to look at more houses, and a combination of buyer agents, us going out and doing virtual showings, right? So this was a combined request of virtual and in-person showings. Additionally, 70% of all homes are receiving multiple offers. I mean, tell me you're not seeing that. So that's something we're going to need to talk about here is, okay, what kind of things do you have to do to get your properties, your offers accepted? And if you're a listing agent, wow, it's a lot better to be receiving those multiple offers than it is to be having to try and fight your way through it. Yet there are some really great tactics. I actually just learned some really cool tactics this last week of ways to get your multiple offers accepted and taken through, that we learned from our own Carol Royce in our office. Was really, really good. I'm not just teasing that, like I won't tell you, I'll come back to that. Nearly 30% of respondents who are living in a high density area are looking for ways to get out of that and get urban. That's what Ashley, you were talking about, that you are seeing that there in Everett, that people from Seattle are like, get me out of the high density areas. I want to get out to more rural. It's some of why we're seeing the migration that we're seeing happening here to Phoenix occurring, is that people want to get out. You know, it's like, okay, and I don't want to be on top of everybody anymore. And so they're looking to get out. Interestingly enough, despite the super seller market that we are in, oh, I forgot to change your number there. I apologize. Oops. Your number of solds. Sorry about that. 87% of all home sellers are actually worried that their house won't sell because of the pandemic and the recession. Are you guys finding that that's actually true? When you're talking with clients, when you're talking with prospects, are you finding they're afraid they won't be able to sell their house? Now, recognize that afraid they won't be able to sell their house includes, I don't know where I'm going to move. I'm going to have a hard time moving. I don't know where I'm going to go. or I don't want people coming through my house. It includes all of those things, that there will be difficulties in selling their house. Charles is seeing it. Anyone else seeing that as the case?
Yeah, I saw that. I've got someone that is afraid they won't have anywhere to go. That's
Okay.
the biggest one.
So then now they're like, okay, so I sell now, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You have some people, let's see, Letty says that they would have to cut their price due to the pandemic. You have some people who think that. In the face of, we're looking at the statistics showing that prices are on the rise. Okay. Anybody else? I personally haven't come across somebody who's concerned that they won't be able to sell their home because there's nobody who's going to come buy the house. I have not experienced that, and I don't think that that's what that stat represents. I think it just represents the unrest in the public for people to sell their house and what's going to happen. It's an uncertainty, and uncertainty is always what causes fear. That means our jobs as agents is to understand the market and be able to educate and explain it to them. Because in that education and explanation is where the empowerment comes from. Okay.
It's also why it's important, and why it's so important to have these conversations about statistics, because ultimately our goal is to educate our clients so that they are empowered to make the best decision for them. Excuse me. And so by sharing the statistics, it's the data that's going to help them make that decision, and they'll see that perhaps their fear is unwarranted, and there are opportunities there with the right realtor, which of course is one of you. So that's where we are consistent in that training and wanting to make sure you know those numbers.
Yeah. So if you were to, and I'm going to make these slides, you guys will all get a copy of these slides. But for example, if you were to, let me go back to this slide here.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too, Kelly. So we're seeing more post-possession agreements, which I've never been a fan of. Partly because my business partner was two of my business partners were real estate attorneys, and ultimately because it's a little more liability. So we definitely, if you're going to do that, reach out to your broker, walk them through that with them, especially if you've not done one before. And yet we're seeing that more sellers are asking for rent backs, extended closing dates, or time to go find another home.
Absolutely. So one of the things I would say for you to do, whether you're in Arizona or you are in Washington, is come back to this slide and know what these numbers are, and then make sure that you're updating these numbers. I mean, a simple conversation, a simple post around these numbers that tells people what's happening can be hugely helpful and empowering. Hugely. That's a real word, isn't it? Really big, a big deal. It can be impactful. All right. Abby, you just posted a picture here for us to see about the week to week comparisons. Would you mind jumping on here and telling us about what you're seeing?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you. I'm going to actually even share what you just posted.
Okay. So yeah, this is so that's the key box. It's the key box activity report for Northwest MLS, just showing trends. So when you brought that up, it's a little bit harder to find, but we do have access to it. And so this just gives and there's deeper data available in MLS, but just for a quick snippet of what happened this past week, you can see that there's actually a significant upward trend in showings, this year compared to last year. And what's also interesting within this data, it also shows Northwest MLS does a comparison that shows how many showings on average to sell. So literally it's the countdown until it changes it's the summary of the key box punches until the status changes on the multiple, right? So yeah. There's some really great data in there that just speaks to the same thing you're saying, just an incredible amount of activity.
Yeah, I mean, look at that, the delta here, huge difference. So
you're always
having tools like that, like the one that Abby just popped out there, find out where you find those things and make those things available. Make them part of your presentation. Make them part of what you send out as your 19 to connect, or if you do an 8x8. Use this information to educate your people, because that's where the value is. That's where the trust for them is going to come in. And we have that data here. That's why we're trying to provide that for you. Okay. And you know what? If you're and yes, if you're somewhere else, if you're watching this and because you saw it and you're one of my teams in Utah, or you're from somewhere else, message me and I'll get you a similar chart. Okay, I'll make sure that you get that same kind of data. Okay, and please share Abhi's data. Yep. So everybody, right now, if you look in the chat, if you click on the chat button, you'll be able to see the JPEG that he uploaded that's of the showings. You'll be able to open that, and it's available to you right now in the chat. Cool. So let's continue this conversation here, because our next slide is about where are the sellers. So let's just continue this conversation about where are these people and what are the things that are holding them back, because that's really what comes down to. Where are the sellers? They're afraid. They're afraid. So one of the things I did and we'll be doing next week is I got with our broker at our office and I said, let's get a list of the different types of clauses you are comfortable with using in this current time. Okay, and Scott Kibbers also gave us a showing time data one that's updated from now. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. So having the clauses available, what we're going to do is we're going to do a class all around that. You know, I from my attorney background side of it, working with him, we've created several different clauses for post-possession, for longer closings, for a seller contingency, for all of that kind of stuff. Because remember, as the listing agent, you have the control in the negotiation, which means as the buyer agent, come with that already prepared, offering that to them, because most agents aren't savvy enough to really understand how they could put something together. But if you came to them with a solution, having found out from them when you began your process, and I always explain this, like, this device right here, as cool for all the things it does, you know what else it does? You can talk to people on it. It's amazing, right? People forget that. Call the dang listing agent if you're a buyer agent. Call them and talk to them. Find out what their hot buttons are. And then you put together look, we'll give you we'll allow a post-possession, or we'll give you an extended close, or whatever it is. And then we're looking to have those clauses put together. So be watching for that class. That'll be next week, okay? So talk to me. What are some of the things, what are the conversations you're having with sellers right now about these fears and about post-possession? Like Kellyanne had talked about, there's post-possession that people are asking for. Charles had said something similar. How is that conversation going? Like, what does it look like when you have it? Bridge loan. Good, Michelle. That's a good one. Bridge loans. Okay, that's actually a thing. People have equity in their homes. Anybody else?
Something that we did recently that's paid off well on the first try, so I'm doing more, is people that have fears about listing their home and the risk of showings and everything. If they have a desire to sell, I just ask them if I can mention their house at my other open houses. And believe it or not, I brought a buyer to them and said, hey, they actually showed some interest. May I video your home? And we shot a video and sold the home via video. It was pretty incredible. So I'm again with another client who has COVID concerns, and it's really working well, actually.
Yeah, that's excellent. Excellent. And there's more of that happening where people are buying off of what they're seeing. Letty, let me ask you a follow-up question. You said in here that they want to list, but they're unsure if they should wait. I think that's a legit, that when you start talking about the market being on the rise, maybe I should just wait a little bit. Is that what you mean in that, if you don't mind coming on, Letty? Yes, that is what you mean. Okay. So what does that conversation look like? Anybody else having that before I dive into it? When they're wondering if they should wait. I'm gonna say cash in hand is far more valuable to you than the potential increase in equity over time right now. Get that cash in hand. You can do far more with it, with that cash in hand, rather than waiting, because your purchase, your entry price is going to be less. So when they begin talking about, well, what if there's a crash? The market's going to crash, right? Well, anybody see any indications that we're actually on track for a market crash?
No.
There's none. There are no indicators that show that the market is headed for a crash. Now, I'm not talking about the geopolitical landscape and what could happen, if the economy, imploded. From a industry standpoint and from a value standpoint of homes, there are no indicators of a crash. Zero across the board. That's what's so amazing. Okay, so you're in a robust, strong market, and it's your best time to buy right now. Somebody, who was it? Charles said, yeah, do you know where you could have been if you'd have done it 6 months ago? Right? If you'd done looking at 6 months ago. So I think when I sit down with a seller and they have that same kind of question about, well, where maybe I should just wait. It's really beginning to break down what it would look like. So if they're concerned about the pandemic and what that looks like, I want to get into understanding, okay, well, what is it about the pandemic that has you concerned? And if we don't address it, what happens if you don't move? Right? And these are tried and true portions of scripts where we're going to follow up and say, well, what's your pain point? And isn't that pain point still going to be there if you don't move? What we're looking, though, is to ensure that they're going to be safe and make sure that you have a COVID sales plan in place for them, where the people are going to.
Doesn't have that. That's not something we're going to go into here. And yet, having a plan and showing them that you have a plan is super important. And I completely agree with what Jason's suggesting, Letty, is that ask more questions. I mean, when I work with a seller, it's always about that. Where's the problem? Where's the button? And then let's develop a plan together. So let's come together and figure out what that is. And the best way to do that when you're having that conversation is to ask more questions and figure out really what is it. Okay, I completely understand. Give them that affirmative. I completely understand you're worried about putting your property up on the market, and yet let's talk about it. What is it about that that's really concerning you, so that I can really understand what you're feeling, and then help them through that process.
So it comes back to, again, that care that we show them. Our job really is to educate. The more we can educate, help them get there, the better, because their why, like Kelly Black is saying here, Kelly, their why isn't going to change. That's still there. It's how do I help you get there based on the concerns you have, whether it's the pandemic and are we going to be healthy and safe, and do I need to be doing checks or whatever it is. That we definitely working through it. Also in the chat here, Denise over at Biltmore says that they have a document with options that she can share. That's wonderful and I assume that's for the language, the terms. And bridge loans and jumbo loans were not being done right now. And I think that's lender driven. There are some that are doing bridge loans and some that aren't. So it's a matter of finding the ones that are doing it. And a bridge loan, for anyone who's not sure what that is, because they haven't really been around, is when you have a home, you're going to take out a loan based on basically the equity of the home in the house to buy the next house and bridge that gap so that you don't have to buy with a contingency, is what that is. And there's some companies, I don't know, do you guys have knock in Washington?
Not that I've heard of.
Yeah, so there's knock. That knock is not up there, and they're on their way out of Phoenix, so we're glad to see them go bye-bye.
Before I come down.
Right, they're on their way out of here. So I think that you want to look at what the options are, talk to different agents, different lenders, and see if they're doing bridge loans. I think, though, with the power that an agent has right now, a seller has, the easiest thing is to just set up an extended close or a post-possession in a way that works for everybody, is the thing. David wants to know, can you explain again how to get over the lateral move of a client who wants to upgrade but also needs to sell their house? Contingent offers are not worth the paper they're written on. Yeah, it's really, really difficult to get a contingent offer accepted because they don't need to wait. So how do you go about doing that? There's going to be different ways to do that lateral move. And if they need to sell their house first, then they put their house up first and have a contingent on the buy. You do a reverse on that. So the seller is going to be contingent on closing of their own, being able to acquire a property. So you'd like to do it on the reverse of that.
I know what you're saying though, David, and at least here, what we're seeing is that then if they go to purchase that with multiple offers, then they're seeing their friends are not getting accepted. And so there's this fear that they won't have an accepted offer once they go to purchase. And so that's where the post-possession agreement comes into effect. It's where you negotiate for this on the sales side as a listing agent when you get those multiple offers, if they get a 30 or 60-day rent back, so they have that time. And so they can actually go and buy as soon as they're through that inspection period, or even, if I were representing them, I'd probably a few days before closing, I would go and start shopping and not make it contingent, but then still be in that inspection period. And brokers in the room probably like, but Ashley? And yet there was times I've done that before over the years because I'm playing with the dates a little bit, but then I get those 60 days rent free for the seller and negotiate that. And then they're buying non-contingent because their property already sold.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've understood, at least from a lender we were talking to yesterday on another class that we were on, actually the Biltmore partner meeting, she had shared that you could have up to 60 days where the seller didn't actually, or the new buyer didn't move in, your former seller, new buyer, doesn't move into their future home. So that's a way to kind of get around that. So they're not buying contingent, but they've sold their property. And that's how I would describe that to them and let them know that, hey, there's so many things that could go wrong, and every step of the way I'm going to be with you in that process, and just really explain every single piece of that to them so that they understand it.
Yeah, so that's a good time to make sure you've sat down with your broker and you have the right language that they're going to be comfortable with. Tim says that he's having conversations about trading. What a great idea, right? That I want to be here. You want to be here. Do our houses work? Just trade houses. And it's not quite that simple. I get it, but what a great out of the box way of thinking of ways to still get it done and bring people together to make the transaction happen, and you're not stuck with the contingency. So that's cool. That's really, really great, Tim. And Chris Altman says we have an excellent post-possession agreement available. Fantastic. And Keller offers, absolutely one of the things we have available to us at Keller Williams Agents is Keller offers that can help with that, removing a contingency, because they can come in and buy it. And there are whole lots of different ways to do that they'll even come in as a backup and stuff. So definitely look into that. Make sure you're educated on the Keller offers, because that becomes a great way to guarantee that it's closed and you don't have to have the contingency in place. All right. Now, for as much as we talk about what's happening in the real estate market, okay, I want us to just take a quick second and dive into our cousin, the commercial market. Okay, let's take a quick look at what the commercial market looks like. So one of the things I have happen at East Valley is I have our commercial broker. He comes on and he talks about what things are looking like, because one of the indicators to be watching right now as to what's going to happen with the real estate market, really with the economy, is what's happening in the commercial market. And you see a lot of the retail going down. You see a lot of spaces being collapsed on because people aren't paying their rent anymore. They're finding out, like Twitter, that we're just going to be completely virtual. So what's happening there is absolutely an area to keep a watch on, because that's where the trickle down will come into the economy. If things condense in the commercial market, what does that then do to the economy and the jobs number? If the number of jobs remain the same, then it's likely going to be negligible as to what actually happens within the housing market. But as that commercial market, if it gets really disrupted, that's going to impact our financial markets, and our financial markets could have the trickle-down effect over to our real estate market because of jobs, which will have an immediate impact on our buyer demand, which right now we see it so high. I would be okay with a reduced buyer demand right now to make it easier for some people to be able to get in and buy homes. It's not that the homes won't sell. There's just, when you have 20 offers on a single property, it's a little insane. So any other thoughts about what's happening in the commercial world and now it may affect real estate, our real estate market?
Yeah, a little softening there for our buyers would not be a bad thing, because buyers will start to get buyer fatigue, which is not a good thing either. So,
yeah, entirely. All right. Well, guys, I got another question for you. Another thought provoker, as I want you to think about. So we had our reflecting question as to like, what would you do if you knew COVID was coming? Okay, if you knew COVID was on its way, what would you do differently? So there's a couple things I want us to think about that I think is really, really important in your business right now. I want you to consider, are you actually failing so slowly that you think you're succeeding? What do I mean by that? What's that?
It's a hard question. I think that
It is.
yeah, when we really, really hear that and go, wait, I thought I was doing well. And yet that's such a powerful question to ask yourself.
So you need to look at that and say, I mean, it's the old adage, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? It's a metaphor of the shark and how it has to keep moving in order to breathe. If it stops moving, it drowns. If you're not progressing, you're regressing, whatever you want to look at. But the point is that you don't want to just be treading water from time to time. It's that you need to just be able to tread long enough to wait for the boat to arrive that can save you, get on that boat and move forward. The problem will happen is that because of our uncertainty as to where to go, our uncertainty as to what can happen, we may just say, all right, well, this is good, this is working right now, or I have savings, I can make it through, I have some stuff coming in, and I'm actually failing so slowly that I think I'm succeeding. I look at other people in the market and, well, they didn't have a closing, I did, so I must be all right. This is really where I think you need to challenge yourself and look at your pipeline. What I found happened with a lot of people is as January arrived, we all went into January with high expectations that 2020 was going to be an incredible year. And that with that incredible year, we were setting lofty goals of what we were going to do and how we were going to get there. And then, of course, everything changed. Only to then find out that I found a lot of agents that as March came, I have like 6, 7 people who are ready to do business. And then March comes and they're like, well, I'm going to wait. So March comes and they would have done business with me. Now they don't do business with me in March, but they come back in May. So May, June, they re-enter my pipeline and now everything's okay. Anybody experience this where you felt like you had a good pipeline going into the pandemic beginning, the pandemic arrives and all of a sudden my pipeline disappeared and there's a little bit of a, oh no, what's going to happen? And then as we go through the pandemic, a month or two, those people return because they still needed to buy or sell and you do that transaction. Anybody find that happen in their business? Give me a thumbs up or
that was me.
Whatever, right? Okay, so here's what my concern has been and what I'm finding is typically the case. That we have that pipeline that shows up, but the problem is we didn't do enough during the shutdown, the first wave, to bolster our pipeline after it. But we've tricked ourselves into thinking, oh, things are okay because those people all came back. The problem is that was business that should have happened in the past. That's business that should have happened in the spring. Now I do it in the summer. What does my pipeline look like for the fall? I'm finding a lot of pipelines are very, very thin. And that's the part that concerns me when I look around and I meet with agents. The pipeline going forward is thin. We were doing the activities going into the end of 19, into the beginning of 2020. It was producing our results, and then we froze because we didn't know what to do. That uncertainty caused us to freeze and kind of reevaluate what are we going to have to do. And if we have not jumped back in, both feet, full force, that is the question then, are you now failing so slowly that you think you're succeeding?
And understanding this, what our goal in asking that question and to share that timeline is that most markets are seeing a huge June and a huge July because of those people that came back that froze, their clients that froze in March and April and then finally are ready to transact. The concern is if we're not continuing to do the activities and didn't do those activities March, April, May, at the same time as real estate professionals, then our pipelines going into the fall and Christmas are going to be really, really low. And so if you're seeing a bump up and you're all excited, be real with yourself. Are those people that would have bought with you in March if COVID hadn't happened? And if they are, awesome. great, serve them, and please don't forget ever that we have to continue to lead generate in order to continue to fill our pipelines, or we're not going to succeed in our businesses.
That's exactly right. So think about this, guys. What stops you from changing? What stops you from transforming? What is it that stops you from succeeding in the face of the changes? And I think a lot of us are becoming more accustomed to like, okay, well, this is the new norm. We're not going back to the way things were in February. February is now the good old days. Business will be forever changed. There's some acceptance of that, but what's stopping us from running forward? Well, that thing that stops us from moving forward is an attachment to the way things used to be. The world's not going back to the way it was in February. Many are waiting and hoping that it is, and that this will just blow over and that everything will be normal, but it's just not happening, or at least anytime real soon.
And
So,
example, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jay.
well, I was just saying, so even if there's a vaccine, or if there's something that comes about that alleviates a lot of the concerns, guess what? Consumer behavior through this has changed. And we can't force consumer behavior to go back to the way it was. So are we going to do something about it, or are we going to complain about it? That becomes the question. What are we going to do differently about it? Go ahead, Ashley.
Of course. So one of the things I've shared, and I started sharing this with my kids, and then I started sharing it with others, is, and so one of the things that I just don't want to come off and sounding like, gosh, we never want to be luxury, because we're in the same boat with you. We're doing the same things you guys are. We're still working hard to fill our pipelines, and that's exactly, and we're sharing this to ourselves just as much to everyone. Is it?
Yeah, I raise these questions because these are the hard questions I had to face, and I had to ask myself.
Yes, exactly. And so one of the things I've shared with my kids and with Jason is that if you think about pre 9/11, like when 9/11 happened, most of us know exactly where we were in that moment, exactly what happened, exactly what was happening in our country and our communities. And yet, what about airline travel? Pre 9/11 and post 9/11. Pre 9/11 was a lot different, and it looked a lot different than it does post 9/11. I think it's the same concept that we need to look at, is that pre-COVID was one way. We are not going back to the days of yesterday. Things will change. It's just the way that's going to be. And in that, how can we make it the very best rest of the year possible, knowing that this is our new normal, that we are still dealing with this for an indefinite amount of time. Of course, we want that to be as short as possible, and yet until this is under control, this is our new normal. And so what does that look like then for you to navigate that? And that's what the conversation is about today.
Yeah, and if you think about that, the way things changed after 9/11, that's the new normal. And we didn't like it at first. There was a lot of pushback. Oh, wow, this is ridiculous. Why do we have to do this? And it's just how we do it now. Zoom meetings. For as much as some of us may be having Zoom fatigue, this that we're doing here, I actually think it's fantastic that we're able to have so many people from different locations here together to have this conversation. And that's made possible because we're becoming more comfortable and more adapted to technology such as this. I have a question for everyone to ponder on. I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to give you 8 tips, 8 tools to work with to how you are going to reinvent 2020, okay? What you'll need to be doing. The thinking question I want you to kind of put your subconscious to work on is, what do you need to do differently in your business today if you know that you will be shut down or deemed non-essential, or you'll be quarantined or whatever in the next month? How will you operate your business? Now, this was a question I asked as a follow-up to the previous question. If I'd have known what was coming in January, what would I have done differently? Well, there's a book called The Road Less Stupid by Keith J. Cunningham. Okay, and he's also been a guest in Gary's Masterminds. He was a guest on a podcast with The One Thing, and also a bonus episode of Think Like a CEO podcast. Keith J. Cunningham, he talks about this time that he takes called thinking time. And so I began implementing that myself, weekly thinking time, to just think about questions that I don't have answers to. Sometimes you come out of it and I don't have an answer for it. This is one of those. I came out of my thinking time and I'm like, I don't have an answer for this. So I began asking other agents and they didn't have answers. And that was concerning to me. What do you need to do differently right now? This is now giving you the opportunity to think, okay, if I'm going to not be able to work in 4 weeks, what do I have to do? How do I have to change my business? So I want you to think about that. We'll come back to that, because really what we're doing here is we're trying to find ways to make 2020 the year that everything's changed. So we're going to talk here about some tools to help you re-emphasize, reprioritize, and revitalize. Here are the 8 steps to reinvent 2020. Okay, and we'll go over each one of these individually. But check your mindset, have a scoreboard, reflect on that scoreboard, kind of like thinking time. Re-emphasize your pipeline, prioritize your goals for the next 6 months, revitalize with new implementation, reinvent 2020 by doing the activities necessary and having accountability. And this list came together from all the conversations that I've had with multiple agents and myself, thinking about, well, what do I need to do differently? So the first part here, mindset. The world has changed. People are changing. That means consumer behavior is changing and business won't be the same. We need to wrap our heads around that and accept that, embrace it, and say, how do I take advantage of that? What are the resources that are available to me? Where do I educate myself? And ultimately, folks, be grateful. That's part of this. Be grateful. Like Janet had talked about, her going through her database and cleaning it up. That really is like the unspoken of or unforeseen gift of the COVID pandemic here. If you've gotten into your database and really worked that, you can have a really clean, robust, strong, healthy database. And if you haven't done it yet, now's the time to do that. See that this is that opportunity and take action with it. But we have to understand business is going to look different. I don't know what completely it's going to look like, but I will tell you, those of you who implement, who try some things, you're the one who are going to reap the rewards for having innovated and found something. So we need to just try stuff, whether it's like Charles had talked about, selling a home essentially virtually by talking to, hey, I'm going to mention your home to people. Because of the lack of inventory, he gets someone who's interested, he does a video, he shows the video, boom, transaction, right? That's different. We need to have a scoreboard. You need to have a scoreboard to know if you're winning or losing. If you don't know if you're winning or losing, like when I asked the question, are you on track for your goals or not? You don't know where you're at. You need to know where you're at. So now's the time to put that scoreboard in place. Know how many buyers do you have that you're working with, how many sellers you have that you're working with, and know whether or not you're on track to hit your financial goals. If that means I don't have a financial goal, then understand what it is you need to have month to month and make sure that you're on track to do that so that you can stay in this incredible business and in this incredible industry. The scoreboard is simply going to inform you whether or not your current activities are moving you forward or not. That's the point of them. It's a way of kind of imposing some accountability on yourself to see, am I winning or losing day to day?
And if anybody's having any kind of struggles with any of these tips, for example, the scoreboard, and you're struggling with numbers or how to put that together or what a business plan would be, come talk to one of us or your productivity coach, because we will be able to help you. So for those of you who are newer in coaching, go talk to Britt or Tim here in Washington, or your team leaders, so we can help you. Reflect
on the goals that you have. So again, if you didn't set any goals, well, now's the time to set some, okay? But based on your 2020 goals, are you on track? And most of you said you're not on track or you're not quite sure. That's okay, right? This is your opportunity to begin changing that, okay? Identify what your goal is, what got you off, and how did I stay on, right? How do I get back on my goals? What do I need to adjust in my activities? What do I need to adjust in my business? Do my goals need to be adjusted? That's another thing that I think too often we get set on. This was my goal to do 4 deals a month. And now I'm not on track to do that. I'm on track, I'm doing 1 deal a month or something. And instead of beating ourselves up about the fact that we're not doing 4, why don't we take an inventory of things, reflect on that goal, and perhaps take that opportunity to adjust the goal and adjust it to 2, 3, whatever it is you need to adjust it to for now, because in a shift, we have less business available for the same amount of activities. So we have to do more activity to get the same results. So that 4 might need to come down to 3 or 2. And we just need to be okay with it. So we're not frustrated by the fact that we're not hitting our goal. Okay? But know where you're going. Okay? That's the key part to these first 3 slides is from a mindset standpoint, understand that you can do something about it, and then put a target out there. Get yourself a target and start working towards that target. Okay, re-emphasizing your pipeline. I heard this from a lot of agents, and that's why it makes it into here is who's in your pipeline, who's missing from your pipeline, and how far out is your pipeline. When you look at your pipeline, does it go out only to the end of next month? Or do you have people in your pipeline who have said they're going to do something in the fall? Like, oh, I'm thinking about selling, towards the end of the fall, like October, November, something like that. If that's the case, great, they're in your pipeline. But because we're going to re-emphasize that pipeline, we need to make sure that we're in contact with those people now. Care calls to them, essentially, are the prime thing to do, truly the prime thing to do. Most agents had a good pipeline in COVID as it arrived. Does it still look good? It goes back to what I talked about. The pipeline looked good. It disappeared. It came back. It's been spent. So what do I have going forward if I wasn't doing the activities? And how do I re-energize everything in my business? How do I get revitalizing things? Reprioritizing your goals is what we talked about. I touched on a minute ago. That what will it take for you to fill up your pipeline as you envisioned it? And are you willing to do those things? If you're not willing to do what it would take to re-envision it, it's okay. Just adjust your goal then, or talk to somebody where you can get support. And what is it that you need? Maybe it's some additional leverage you need. Maybe it's an additional resource of available leads or something. Who do you need to add into your pipeline, and can I depend on my pipeline? Are the people that I have in there, yeah, they've said they'll do this, but it's a bit wishy-washy? If so, let's talk to them. Recognize and give yourself some grace that there's 2 types of goals. You have your reachable goals and your stretch goals. Just be clear on what type you intend to set when you set that goal, and that's what you're working towards. I think that's important from a mental health. For me, it helps a lot to know, okay, is this a reachable goal? Is this a stretch goal? And reachable goal meaning that's usually when we say, well, that's not realistic to do the stretch goal. So I need a reachable goal because I need a win. Sometimes I need a stretch goal so that it pushes me beyond my capabilities, even if I don't hit that stretch goal. Okay, just know which kind you're setting. Revitalizing, step number 6. What do I need to implement to be on track to hit my goals? What habits do I need to create? Do I need to adjust my budget? Most agents, I didn't replace that, did I? No, that's right. That's from before. So if back to your pipeline, okay, we're going to ignore that there. Sorry. What do I need to implement to be on track to hit my goals? And a lot of times that's going to be technology. So we're going to talk about technology here in a second of what you can do, what your communication plans can look like for your clients. I'm going to give you some that you guys can execute on immediately. Okay. And then reinventing 2020 is number 7. What activities are needed to hit your goals? Do you need a new routine? Are you missing a dedicated space? How many of you had to form a new space in your house so that you had a dedicated place to work? How many of you had to work things with your family and those in your home, your kids or whatnot, to ensure that you had time to work on your goals and on your business? All of that is part of what we have to do, and we are seeing that. Home builders are talking about this immensely, that this dedicated space is the thing they're hearing most for. People want a dedicated space where they can work. So disappearing are the open floor plans, disappearing are the extra spaces, those sorts of things. That's really what it is. And the struggle is real, my friend. Cliff says it's hard to find a dedicated space and he needs to get back into the office. Well, come on in. We're keeping things clean and sanitized there, but yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm literally right now, folks, if you can see what I'm on 2 TV chairs with a box of food storage holding up my laptop and an extra screen. That's my dedicated space here in the office, but you do what you got to do to make it work, right? But that's a reality we're all facing, and so do you have a place to go to do that? Okay. Well, good. Don't bring the virus to the office. Get yourself healthy, and then come on in. I would say that. cliff for sure. Accountability, guys. This is so often a dirty word that people feel like, oh my gosh, accountability. I don't know how to, I don't want it. It makes me uncomfortable. But recognize that accountability is really just to check in on your goals. That's what it is. When you make your goals known to others, post it on social media, get an accountability partner, whether it's another agent in the office, whether it's your broker or team leader, having somebody that will just check on you and not shame you, just check you. How are you doing with your goals? Where are you at? What do you need help with? That is essential to success. And please do not skip that step as you reinvent 2020. Most of us struggle to stay revitalized because we want what we knew. Well, unless we have enough pain to overcome the comfort of what we knew, we're not going to change. And that's where accountability can come in to help us overcome that pain so that we can change to be more. So again, those are the 8 steps to reinventing 2020. Any thoughts, ahas, counterpoints, additions from everybody? I would love to hear your thoughts as we go through that. Anyone?
Hey, Jason, I'm Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Sorry I got in the very last few minutes. I just saw the email from Ashley. I'm like, okay, I'm signing up and this is in the future. I'll
I'm
show
glad
you.
you jumped on
I'm
and
like
get you on
cleaning
recording.
my cabin right now, okay?
Oh,
So,
well, that's pretty
so
awesome.
I didn't put myself on video. But anyway, this is me and it's good to meet you. And I like the things that you brought up. And anyway, I'll be calling you guys, just ask you for some input for me.
Absolutely.
Just getting kind of started here. So anyway,
Wonderful.
thanks. I'm just glad that you had it. So that's all I have to say.
Well, you're welcome. And definitely, folks, as we go through this, as I go through those steps, again, in the email that you guys received when you signed up, our contact information's there. Please reach out to us. One of the things we are offering is a one-on-one sit-down discussion with you to go over and audit your business. That's absolutely something that comes from this. We will help you implement these 8 steps. We will help you with the mindset shift. We will help you understand the numbers. We will help you get the roadmap exactly for what you need to do. Absolutely, we will share the 8 steps. We'll make all of this available to you guys. You bet, Josh. We'll definitely make sure that that's available, okay? And the idea, Willis, thank you, likes the idea of setting reachable and stretch goals, right? For me, when I discovered those, when I put a label on the different kinds, it really began to help me with my own goal setting and what I was trying to achieve from it. It was really helpful, both personally and business wise. So that's awesome. Anybody else have an aha from that? Because I'm going to ask you your question again, and then I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are from that question, and that is, what do you need to do differently in your business today if you know that you will be shut down or deemed non-essential or be quarantined or anything in a month? How's your business going to continue to operate? Are you prepared for that? What thoughts come to everybody in that? Accountability for John was a big thing he saw. Good. I think that's probably, for a lot of people, we need to admit that that's something for us. So, and maybe it's also implementing accountability. Be more virtual, from Paul. 2 more bidets. Accountability for Josh.
So one thing, when in March, we were completely shut down for a span of about 4 or 5 days in Washington where we were not essential. Jason watched that from Arizona and was sharing that message everywhere, like shouting from the rooftops, come on, you guys, go take a video tour, go out to and get some inventory and some information so you can share it, because if we get shut down too, you need to be prepared. And so please understand, we're not saying we want this, of course not. And we want to make sure that we're prepared for anything that could happen. We're in uncharted waters. All of us have never been through a worldwide pandemic together. And so this is something that, okay, we've seen this happen before. How can we be prepared now? Yes, perhaps stock up on toilet paper and It's awesome. You get your bidets, Britt. And what else can you do to be prepared for what could happen in our business if we were to shut down again in the fall?
Absolutely. And it's true. As I watched what Ashley was doing, I was getting out and I was pounding it here into our market center. I was talking about it with our team that, look, get your assets together. Like if you're going to be claiming that you can do a virtual tour, go get one right now. Go do one at somebody's open house or a vacant listing or something, so that you have something to show in case you're shut down. It's about being that prepared for people. Joe's saying that she'll that big thing for Joe should read MREA, the Red Book, and shift. Letty, more client-friendly technology. I absolutely. So if these are the things that you see your business needs, I strongly encourage you, find ways to get it implemented, right? Follow the 8 steps to Reinvent 2020, including that accountability. And let's see these things impact and move your business forward. So a couple of things that we're going to go through. I'll go through this part here about generating, converting, and serving our clients. Some of you this will be familiar to you. I want to touch on a couple of the things that you really need to make sure you are doing. And then I want to get into technology, okay? So let's go through that. So generating, converting, and serving clients. Okay, remember that you need to do that, you need a database. You need to have a database that's set up and you need to be feeding it. Let's recognize that leads, when we talk about leads as I go through this, leads are going to be people who have the right to at least have a one-way conversation with you, okay? And what a one-way conversation was is they responded to an ad or something, so you can go ahead and send stuff at them, okay? And what in Keller vernacular we refer to that as you want them on a campaign that's 19 to connect. Now, when the MREA 2 comes back out, you're going to see 19 to connect over 8x8. The 8x8 is kind of disappearing, and 19 to connect, 19 touches to connect is more what we're finding. And your contacts, though, are people that you have an established two-way communication with them. So these are like your Mets in your database. These are people who know you, who will take your call if you call them, that sort of thing. All right. And so here's what that kind of looks like, right? Here's an example to systematically communicate with your database. On the 19 to connect, have 4 quarterly touches where you're reaching out to them with a phone call. And maybe that phone call is a text message. Okay. You have 12 touches. So it's just something that goes out monthly. Whether it's a newsletter or it's the market report. Within Keller Command, you have neighborhood reports and you can set those up on a monthly schedule. And so that's what's going out monthly as part of your saturation, but you need their physical address to do that, which again goes back to making sure we have quality data in our database. 2 touches could be something, like more like a promotional direct thing that you're sending them, an invite to an event or something, a magnet, those sorts of things. That stuff's all what adds up to your 19 to connect. Then it's recommended that you have a cementing high value touch of some sort. Think of that as, I think of that usually as like some sort of a pop by or something that I take by them that solidifies that. And that pop by might be a market analysis of their home and their value. It doesn't, or it might be a seller guidebook, or it might be a buyer guidebook, right? It might be that sort of a cementing touch. It doesn't have to be something grandiose. And then you have your 36 to connect, which is what we used to always refer to as a 33 touch system. Okay. If we look at it within a system, this is what it looks like. And we've all seen the funnels. We're talking about people, we need to get people into our database, our leads versus our contacts. And what we're going to do is we're going to look to bring them in such a way that we are going to, there we go. We're going to saturate them with our 19 to connect or our 36 to convert. And then from there, we're going to have a cementing piece that goes in that brings them together so that they begin to do business with us. And this again, I'm not going to spend time harboring on this. It'll be available in the notes. You'll be able to take a look at it and kind of see what the process is, including in here, you'll see there's these green ones that are listed here. These are things that you can do within Keller Command. If you see that those are in there. Okay.
Blue on my screen, but
I know. So let's talk about leverage and technology that's available to us. Okay. I recommend, as much as we're on here and there's a lot of us who are adept with Zoom, there are plenty of people who are not constantly on. Think about these poor homeschoolers that they are not consistently on Zoom, that are trying to get their kids on a Zoom or on a Google Hangout or something like that, and the struggle that there is with that. Okay, I would recommend that you be adept in all those video platforms, and here's several of them that are out there: Zoom, the Google Hangouts, Google Duo, FaceTime, Skype, even Facebook Messenger. You can video from WhatsApp, Marco Polo, and then there's others. Okay, what sort of usages are you getting from your video platforms right now?
So I'll say this: I actually use Snapchat, and then when I'm out showing houses, I make the videos engaging and funny, and then I download them and post them up on my Facebook page. If I go for too long without posting a video, I actually have people that will message me directly on Facebook and be like, dude, you got another video? Like, I missed them. Can we see them? Those things are hilarious. So that's definitely a big thing to focus on with video. And utilize whatever you can, but make sure, like, at least for my formula, I find the weird and the funny in houses. And that's what seems to work for me.
And I loved what you said there, Cliff, that it's about finding what works for you and finding the weird and the unusual, in a house, and that's just kind of funny that works for you. For others, it may be finding the best way to transform a space, or it may be the latest updates or quick home improvements that could be done in the home. Having this content is really what that is, that you're delivering, becoming comfortable on a video platform. It's not comfortable for most of us as we start doing it, and that, just as anything, the more you do it, the more comfortable you become with it. It requires to get out and do it, and those who are getting out and doing it, like Cliff here, and what you guys many of you don't know about Cliff is he drives a lot of interaction and business from his social media platforms because of his consistency in showing up and producing. Not just always real estate content. He's a serious, legit, semi-pro bass fisherman as well. Cliff, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, also photography and what you call a meme lord.
Yeah.
Because I just post stupid memes all over. But the main thing is you want to make your videos so that people want to work with you. Like with my stuff, they know that they're going to have a really good time when they go out to see houses with me, or when I sell their house or whatever. They know that it's going to be as stress-free as possible. As with this industry, it can be very stressful. And I've even had clients tell me, they're like, that buying a house with you is easier than buying a car. So especially in this market right now, where clients are, what's the word? They are losing hope sometimes because they keep losing out on offers.
Yeah.
They are getting, I really can't think of the words right now. But they are, like, it makes it worse. They lose that hope. They're like, why should I keep looking? I'm not going to find the house anyways. But if you can keep them laughing through the whole process, if you can keep them motivated the entire time and be like, look, this isn't ours, that just means there's a better one for you, and you make sure that it's as fun as possible, then they'll keep going out with you and keep going to see those homes, and they'll keep going. I just closed a client last week that they were definitely losing that motivation. They felt like it wasn't going to happen for them, and they had to move by literally this week, and we closed last week. We found the house, we got it done, everything was good. And they told me, they're like, if it wasn't for you keeping us laughing the whole time, making this fun, we probably would have given up.
Yeah. And that's part of our job, right? That's is to ensure that we are there guiding them through it, and that we are able to navigate it. And you do that really well, Cliff, and ensuring that you're just there with them, which is fantastic. Any others are there any other video platforms, or are there platforms on here you aren't aware of that you have a question about? The ones that I typically use are Zoom. I use Google Hangout, FaceTime. I've used Google Duo twice. I've used Facebook Messenger a couple of times. I actually don't use Skype at all right now. I have in the past. And Marco Polo. Those are the ones that I am currently using to engage with clients.
Another one real quick, Jason.
Yes.
Use Facebook Live. That is the
Yes,
best
Facebook
way
Live.
to reach your sphere on Facebook, because when you go live, they'll get a notification. So they know you're live. They don't have to go searching for it. And Facebook actually uses their algorithms to drive the live videos more than they do other videos. Like if you use YouTube, if you use Snapchat videos, things like that, they won't push those videos as much as they will Facebook Live. It's
Totally.
hard to do if you're trying to put like a story together and you're out showing multiple homes and putting things out there. But if you want to sit down and talk about, home improvement tips, refinance tips with a lender there talking about everything, anything in that sort of realm, use Facebook Live. It is the best way to reach your sphere on Facebook who already know, like, and trust you and will do business with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great tips. And when you do a Facebook Live, the quick tip for everybody is to engage with the people when they get on there. When you see somebody is watching, say their name. The purpose of a live isn't for you to be presenting and then nothing. It's your opportunity to have interaction. So talk to them. If they don't respond back, you just keep going. It's not because they don't like you or something, but engaging with them. And then by you going through and doing open houses or whatever you're doing, people come back and they watch them after because they'll still see that you were previously live. There was let's see, Marlo's got a question here for you, Cliff. Do you use a personal and professional Facebook page or one?
I utilize both, mainly because, I could just use my personal page, but if I use the business page, it has Clifford Kinney with Keller Williams Realty East Valley as the label for the page. So when I share that over, they're basically getting hit twice on the fact that I'm a realtor. They're seeing it visually and they're seeing what I do. And because I do most of my engagement where I literally post the dumbest memes you've ever seen with the dumbest jokes. And occasionally I post photography. Like I posted a lightning shot that I took the other day. I'm at over 400 reactions for that lightning shot. I didn't think it was any good, but everybody loves it. And I'm like, all right, well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. But because I get such high engagement on my personal page, when I post for my business page, I get a lot of organic reach on that. Like I posted yesterday some home in Missouri that you look through and you get to like page 30 and all of a sudden it's just jail cell after jail cell after jail cell in this home. Well, that one has had 5 shares and 1,286 people reached and 497 total clicks on that. So I'm constantly staying in that 1,000 person, like at least 500 to 1,000 person range on the organic reach. And that's just free marketing right there. People that are going to see me over and over and over again posting this stuff. And it's going to be, kind of pounded in their head like, hey, Cliff's a realtor. I posted twice this week in the group that we have for Luxury International. Like I just got a message 2 days ago. Hey, Cliff, how you doing? We want to buy a house. Like that's how my lead gen goes. They reach out to me more than I reach out to them.
And that comes from a matter of being consistent. So I think the thing to hear there is that Cliff's really consistent what he does. He's showing up where the people are at. So as part of always lead generation is be where the people are, and people are more engaged right now through social media. This is a great opportunity for you to have interactions and to show up and be with them there. Joe, you said that YouTube and TikTok are other video platforms. I totally agree. You TikTok, you renegade or anything, I don't know them all myself, but if you did, we give you an opportunity. You could do a TikTok dance or something. But TikTok is absolutely one. Join Me. Yes, Join Me. That's one that gets forgotten about. Good one, Letty. I think that's one that does get forgotten about, but Join Me is another one that's free. GoToMeeting as another one. So there's all these different platforms. Make sure that you are aware of what they are and that you utilize the platforms that are available to you. Something that is great that's available to us right now, a lot of people, because they're at home, being able to find them where they're at, meet the client where they are. And somebody previously has said the importance of having a smoother client experience is what they said. virtual experience, well, this becomes one to look at. You guys realize that on our KW app, you have the ability for your clients to schedule virtual showings with you, and they can pick the platform. See that? They can say, well, which ones would they rather have?
There's no additional cost to this. Remember, guys, so this is all part of the command platform, and that's
Yeah. So as a KW agent, you have this on your mobile app. The person is able to choose, do I want to be in person or do I want to do a live video? They set up, they say which platform are they most comfortable with? Again, there's Zoom, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, Duo, Messenger, or an other. And then they select different times that would work for them. And then you get to say, all right, client, I am available at this time. I will go do a live video tour with you at that time. Pretty dang amazing, really smooth process, really great way to keep your clients safe in COVID, way to leverage your technology. And guess what? Because this is in command, all that data is in command for you. Really awesome, really awesome. Anybody used the virtual tour before? These video tours from command, or knew they were there? Not yet? Definitely go check them out. Other platforms, yes, for getting out video messaging or doing live stuff would be Instagram. Snapchat's another one. In fact, even from Snapchat, you can create videos there, pull them down, and post them in other places, which is way, way cool. Okay. Some other tech things that are available for you. Virtual open houses, which we talked about. And here's kind of a 5-step process to go through and create a virtual open house that you're doing. Britt talked about there's some gals that she's coaching in the chat that they're doing this consistently and they're able to put on a 7th level open house and picking up clients by making these COVID compliant open houses. How cool is that? And if you add a virtual open house part to that, absolutely something you could be utilizing. There's all kinds of different tech tools available for you in your business today. The beautiful thing with Keller Williams is that all of that stuff is integrated right now into command. So much of it's available for you in command. Now, we talked about the importance of educating our clients. I want to make sure that everybody's aware of these tools that are available to make sure you have consistent value touches to your clients in your database, as we've discussed, is important, so that it builds your pipeline, so that it increases your relationships. It does everything we've talked about, and it's with as little stress on you as possible by giving you leverage, and that is client communication kits. I'm finding so often people aren't even aware that the client communication kit is available to you. When you go to kwconnect.com, scroll down, you will find resources. You click on the bottom one here, and it will bring up these client communication kits. What's in these client communication kits? Well, everything you need. So let's say that you were going to do this one, right? This one's talking to them about the app you have and the fact that you can do live video tours. Well, the email is already pre-written for you. How about that? Tells you everything. Then there's a text script that you can use that's already there. What if they say yes? What if they say no? It's already done for you.
You can copy and paste this to send to multiple different clients. That way you're not reinventing it every single time. It's just a huge time saving.
Exactly. Okay. And if you load it up into command, you can send it as a blast to everybody that's tagged with a particular tag, because you're cleaning your database and you're, okay, these are my people who are looking in this area at this price point, for example, bam, you're able to send it to them. Or these, I'm sending this to specifically my sphere of influence, bam, it goes out to them. It also has in it social media posts and what to say in your social media post. So these client communication kits, as I said, are all available to you already on KW Connect. You go to kwconnect.com, scroll down to resources. When you click on it, it will ask you to download a zip file. You download that zip file and everything's in there. The email templates are customizable, so you can tweak it to sound a little bit more like you, or add or take away things you want. Of course, you could do the same thing with text messages. And when you do your social posts, you could also add your logo or do anything you want to through Command or Canva or whatever. So really, really great ways to be getting consistent information out to your clients, be developing those relationships, and be a quality touch for them. So with that, everybody, please share with me. Please take a minute here as we wrap up. What has sparked your mind? What are you taking away from today? If you would please share.
I need to get my butt in gear even more.
A gentle nudge to be doing that.
That's awesome. So Charles is saying thank you for the reminder about client communication kits. So for those of you who didn't know it was there, that's awesome. It's all there and available.
Josh says be more virtual, be more present with videos and having consistent marketing. And that's a big part of show up. You know, one of a side note to this, Gary himself admitted that one of the tactics they left out when they did shift, looking back, was be visible.
Mm-hmm.
Be visible is a enormous tactic that he's like, if I could go back and we rewrite that, that would be a tactic that would be in there specifically about how to be visible. And that's what you're talking about there, Josh. Excellent. David needs some more training on his app. Well, let's get you some. Let's get you connected with Charles or get you some of those videos and get training on that app. Get that for you. The communication kits, you bet, Liddy. There are so many resources. That's the thing to know is these resources are there available to you. Use the resources that you have. If you need to, schedule that time with myself, with Ashley, with your team leader. I saw the Marysville team leaders on here. I forgot your name. I'm sorry. Jen, that's it. Jen. That's what I was thinking. Jen. So Jan, get with her. Get with any of us who are team leaders. We will take you through an audit to identify what these things are you need in your business. Charles say maybe we should film an agent side / client side experience live to see how the new app interacts. How about that, right? Then you're showing people instead of telling people. I like that. Well, Ashley, some final thoughts.
Yeah, I just am grateful for all of you that stuck with us and appreciate the opportunity to spend this time with you. I hope that you have takeaways that you can really use in your business. And the goal was not to completely flood you with information, and yet to take some key pieces and data points that we know will work and key activities that we know will work so that you can truly reinvent 2020. We really want to see each and every one of you have the absolute best year ever, take the power back in what has happened in our communities, in our industry, and just take advantage of that and say, you know what, we're going to make 2020 the best year ever. And you can still do that. So we want to see that happen for each and every one of you.
Awesome. I totally agree. Thankful so much for everyone to join us. I hope this was helpful. I hope you've seen ways in which you can build on your business, that you'll be able to grow from here. Again, reach out to us. Let's get time together. Let's dig into this deep. One final question here from Maggie before we wrap up. Can you share tips on how agents are being creative in winning the contract? Yes. So here's a couple things. Do video. What? How am I supposed to do that? First of all, when you submit an offer, have your clients make a video for the seller instead of just writing up the letter. Have them make that video. Well, how are you going to send that to them? Well, in the letter, you're going to provide the link to them. Learn how to do a bit.ly link, and you create a bit.ly link for them, and you just type that into the letter that you send. And now the client sees it, and they type in that bit.ly letter, and they're going to see the video that comes right from them. Another one is to add a lender video to it. So the lender's talking about this particular client and how qualified and ready they are to go and how reliable they can be. Okay. Another tip with that is send everything in a single PDF. So you're going to include all your addenda in there, right? Each addendum, as well as the purchase contract, combined to one PDF, not into multiple documents, into one PDF, along with your cover letter that says, hey, my clients are so excited to do this. Here's a video about them. Here's what my lender says in their video. And you send that as one PDF because the majority of agents don't have a clue how to break that apart. That's the truth. And so then they will have to give the entire document to their client, and then they will go see, what does this video say? Josh, who's on here, Josh Kreitz, actually implemented some of this, and he just won out an offer, a multiple offer situation, applying these tactics that he had, that we learned over 8, 9 offers, I think he said, something like that. So that's what those are. But reach out to me. I'll go over that in more detail. I know I'm going quickly here because we're looking to wrap up. Everybody, thank you so
Bye.
much.
So great to see you all.
I'm Jason. She's Ashley. We're happy to have been here. Let's play some music on our way out, shall we?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you,
This was
everybody.
really helpful, and I hope to get a class some more details on some of these stuff. It was pretty awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Great job. Thank you.